Hi, Simon Freethy here. Another dramatic weekend of Six Nations rugby. And good kicking games were key parts of both the victories on Saturday's matches. Rhys Webb added a new dimension to the Wales game, choosing when to kick. His options were really good. When he did kick, he kicked really well. France, in their demolition of England, they did absolutely everything brilliantly, but their kicking game was also outstanding. You've got Dupont, Ntamack, Ramos all kicking beautifully. In fact, France kicked 41 times during that match, which equals their record for kicking in a Six Nations game. It's the shape of the rugby ball that gives such variety in kicking in rugby and why it can be such an attacking option. So if you're spiralling it, so if you kick it off the outside of the boot and spiral it through the air, it'll travel a lot further and it'll also wobble around as it's coming through. If you can kick it end over end in a grubber kick, it will bounce forward most of the time, but occasionally it will bob up, making it easier to get hold of. But the other thing is about where it lands. So particularly from a chip over the top, if the ball lands on its point like this, it will quite often bounce back from the way it came. And because of that variable bounce, kicking over the top to space where you can find grass becomes quite a lethal attacking weapon, because that inconsistency in bounce makes it very difficult to defend against. And I want to look at a couple of examples of where this worked in very much attacking team's favour, but actually perhaps because the defenders were being a little bit slow to react. This is quite early on in the Italy-Wales game, and I think quite a pivotal moment because it gives a very beleaguered Wales an early confidence boost, and certainly I think improves their performance through the rest of the game. So Wales run a move which Italy snuff out quite early on. Then a ruck forms, and then Rhys Webb looks around. There aren't really many attacking options because his attacking forwards haven't really lined up. So he puts this kick over the top. He's also seen that there's space behind. Now also, if you look at, here's Rio Dyer here. So he's going to chase. He's already about 5 yards behind the kicker, but he chases really hard. So the kick goes up. One bounce, second bounce lands on its end, comes back, and Dyer's chasing up, and he goes through to score. I certainly think that Bruno, the Italian winger coming across, could have defended this quite a bit better. You'll notice that as he does come across, he has a look to his left to see what attacking Welsh players are coming through. Then he puts his eyes back on the ball and he tries to wait for it to come down after his second bounce. And I think once you've seen a ball bounce once, he should be sprinting across like mad, trying to get as close as he can to the ball as possible and smother that bounce when it occurs. So here he goes. You see, look, he checks his stride a little bit, slows down, waits for the ball, and by that time it's too late. Whereas if he'd have gone in straight away, he would have had a much better chance. Now this is quite interesting. You can now just freeze this here, and you can see very clearly the ball there bounces right on its end, and that's why it goes back over the top. So this is an example from the England-France game. France have taken the ball into a couple of rucks. There's nothing much happening, but Dupont has been scanning there. You just saw him scan, looking at their backfield, sees there's a bit of space. So kicks now off his right foot, chips over the top into that space. And unlike the Rhys Webb one, which was a bit further, so there was more forward momentum in the ball, so it was the second bounce that went the wrong way. This one's slightly higher up. Actually, it's the first bounce that takes the ball sideways rather than backwards, which takes it out of the reach of the flailing Freddie Stewart, which is a bit unfair on him, as actually he was one of England's better players. So there it is, goes back, and then Ntamack, who's chased through nicely. So again, you've got to have a good chase on these kicks. Tips it over to Flamand, who then goes over for his second try of the game, I think it is. But I think from this reverse angle, you can see that Freddie Stewart comes, and you notice he sort of stops a little bit just before he gets to the ball, because again he's trying to wait for it to bounce and see where it goes, but he's completely wrong-footed by that. And what he should really be doing is heading for the ball, even if he's not going to get there before it bounces. He should try and either slide himself underneath, and a quicker fullback may have been able to get themselves, at least get to the ball on the floor at the same time, or to lie on it or smother it as it's just coming up off the ground, because the one thing you don't want is an uncontrolled ball inside your own 22 with all of those forwards marching on towards you. So there you have it. A little chip over the top can be a very effective attacking weapon, especially if you've got attackers chasing the kick really, really hard. On the other side of the coin, if you're a winger or a fullback trying to defend those sorts of kicks over the top, it's absolutely essential to get to the pitch of the ball, get there earlier and smother any potential variety in the bounce. Hope you enjoyed that. See you next time.